Song is Born podcast, where we turn conversations into songs.
Our passion for music is thrown against a blank canvas to bring our guests' inspirations to life.
Hear their unique stories and experience the origins of a new song.
Hey guys, what's going on?
What's up?
Not too much. How's it going?
Pretty good.
What's going on?
So this is episode 5. We've done 4 previous episodes, and we're pretty happy with how that's going. So we're starting episode 5 with my friend Hugo. He's a friend, he's a neighbor, and he's my landlord. And he also works with my wife Jen. So they work at an architecture firm together. So here's
I didn't
Hugo.
realize how connected we were.
Yeah, we have lots of things in common.
Welcome, Hugo.
Thanks for having me. I'm a
thank you
big
for
fan of the
coming
podcast. We were kind of chit-chatting before, and I was saying I'm so impressed you guys can pull this off in a week. So I'm really curious to see what you guys can pull off.
Now, how mad would you be if it was just all a scam? It takes us months.
Whatever. I mean, my videos take me months, and I put them on the shelf for so long. So I 100% understand the initial being kind of gung-ho and then shelving it for a long time. So whatever. It is what it is. Hopefully it turns out cool.
Yeah, so you're our first official fellow YouTuber. So
Am I?
This is going to be interesting. I don't think anybody else has a channel or anything like that.
Cool.
No, Beth definitely doesn't have one.
that you know of.
Yeah, true.
Mine's pretty small.
Well, Hugo has he works in architecture, and he has a YouTube channel because he a couple years back he decided that he wanted a new house. I currently live in his old house, and next door he split the land, and he basically designed and built his own house, and he documented the whole process and put it up on YouTube. But it's in the channel's called Hugo Builds, and it's just basically like a journal of every day throughout the process. It's quite daunting. It's actually really cool to watch, see all the challenges and things that you went through. Not to mention you were filming things and doing all that. So you're trying to get the audio right, getting the focus right, get the lighting right, all while trying to build your own house, So I found that very impressive.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, it was so challenging. I had no idea how to film stuff or record stuff. I didn't have a mic, I think, for the first 3 or 4 episodes. And, the 4 or 5 viewers that I had made sure to let me know. So it went through a growing period. It's still growing extremely slow, but, whatever. It's just for fun. I figured for me, it was more like a video diary of of building the house, right? At the worst case scenario, it was just a cool memory to look back on 20 years from now and say oh, shit, I built this house. And yeah, best case scenario, it blew up, and I'm a YouTube millionaire. So definitely not the case. So I guess we're leaning towards video diary at this point.
until this episode airs.
Yeah,
maybe this is my big break.
Was there any point that you were just nervous that I might be just documenting my failure, or at what point building the house do you feel okay, this might be a successful endeavor of yours?
I never thought about it this way, but you're so right that I had no clue what I was doing, building the house. Probably a good thing that I was pretty naive, because we went into it just whatever, how hard can it be to build a house? Let's just borrow some money and have hire a couple people, and it all worked out. So, we got pretty lucky there. There were definitely some challenges, but, we overcame them. But you're right that it could have just been a huge failure, and whatever. I guess I would have made some good TV. I love watching.
Yeah, you would have got
TV
way
people.
more views.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People getting left at the altar, all this reality TV show crap. I mean, the drama. I guess that was the potential.
Yeah, for anybody who's interested in checking it out and seeing what the house actually looks like, it's really an awesome house. You can go to his YouTube channel and check it out. And my favorite one, I think, is the Office, and that also happens to be the one with the most views. And but I actually used that video, and it kind of inspired me to want to build my studio here in our spare bedroom here at the house. So I kind of watched that, and I thought, man, I can't do any of those things. So I'm just going to go on to Craigslist essentially and buy a table.
I feel like I often get that comment like, oh, can't do any of that, but like this is just painted IKEA stuff, you know what I mean? I'm like propped up on a couple of 2x4s, and the biggest stuff is like the shelves and the trim. But again, it's pretty basic carpentry work. Like I have no special skills. I'm just dumb enough to try.
But it's like it's like truly harnessing. Yeah, I think the special age that we're in with YouTube videos like that, where you're providing that, you're going through that journey, whether it's your house or your office that you're building, and whatever mistakes that you go through, the audience can hopefully prevent those same mistakes from happening. And like me personally, I don't have nearly that experience, but just watching YouTube videos to learn how to do basic construction in the garage or build my home bar. Literally, it was just 5 20-minute YouTube videos, and I used that to reference everything that I did off of my home bar. And it luckily, it didn't break down yet. It's still standing, so I did something right. But it was just such a special thing to be able to pull up on your computer. Hey, this is the steps to go through. This is what I ran into. Be careful about these issues going forward. Like, that's so awesome to be able to share that with just anyone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these days you can like learn to do anything on YouTube. It's the golden age of information. So
It's also a
pretty
little
cool
scary.
Yeah. And that's what, no joke, like when I started the channel, it's just because I knew I was going to be building the house. So like 6 months prior or whatever, I just like dove into construction YouTube, and I just watched so many YouTube videos on all the little tasks. I'm exaggerating when I said I didn't have an idea. I work in the industry, but I really wanted to get a lot of knowledge. So I watched a ton of YouTube, and that all these construction YouTubers, like nothing was really super high quality. And I figured, I tried to merge a couple of things, like I don't know if you know Peter McKinnon. He's a Canadian YouTuber out of Toronto. He won like YouTuber of the Year or whatever, but
He's a
his style
filmmaker,
is,
right?
yeah, he's a filmmaker, videographer, all that stuff. I used to watch a ton of his YouTube, and I really like that kind of, using his videography skills to make really cool videos. And so the quality was really high, but it's also kind of vloggy. And so I tried to bring that into the kind of construction YouTube, but it was a little bit hard to find kind of an identity, right? Of, like you mentioned, like you did your whole office or whatever, or your bar using like YouTube videos, but I found that in doing mine, there's a lot of people like you that just want to see, like, just tell me how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, shut up about your life and your struggles and whatever, and just like give me the 5-minute breakdown. And I struggle with that, and I still struggle with that. Like, do people want personality and they want chit chat, or do they want just quick information on what to do? So that's a tough one for sure.
Yeah, I find that when I'm looking for YouTube videos for like instructions on how to do a thing, whatever it might be, I find myself like watching both the low quality ones and the really high quality ones, because usually the high quality ones are the ones that are going to be like perfect and really high. Like, they're going to be straight to the point. They're not going to show you the mistakes they made in the process. They're just gonna, they're probably representing a company, so they want to, excuse me, they want to look good. They don't want to look like they made a mistake. So you can get the basics there, but then you go and you watch the DIY guy and him doing the same thing, and he's going to be like, oh, I almost burned my house down, or I made this mistake, or I didn't think about this part, but you know what? We learn from our mistakes. So you get like the textbook learning, and you get the real field work learning,
It's just to echo what you were saying, Hugo, about trying to find these videos in construction. It is extremely difficult to find the right ones, and you can go down a rabbit hole with it, being led the wrong way too, because everyone's got their own way of doing something, and for someone that isn't familiar with construction, they go down that rabbit hole, and they're going to fall into a lot of pit holes. And and just recently, like, I had to replace my water heater, and I decided to go with a tankless system. And I even tried to hire a plumber, and I ran into issues even getting someone. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna try to learn it myself and install it. And luckily I was able to. But looking through videos just on something so basic as like installing a natural gas tankless water heater, there's just so many variables in that, and so many different implementations that I found on YouTube. And it was just like, man, get into the right person for this to share the right information to get you to that end result is just sometimes so daunting. And you bring it, from what I've seen in your videos, you bring it in such a well-rounded package, and of course very knowledgeable in what you're displaying, that it's hard to find that is what I was saying. So
Oh, thanks. I'm sure
Touche.
I've led some people down the wrong path. I've been told on a couple of Instagram videos and stuff how wrong I'm doing stuff, so people are never shy about telling you. Instagram reels are
Sometimes my problem is the people on the video make it look too easy.
yeah, there's definitely that. Like there's like the need to make it look like HGTV. It's like, oh, here you go, here's my house, but really it's like I've been struggling for 6 months, and like out here I was working, and I don't know what the conversion is, but for the most part we were building the house, like the framing and stuff is like minus 30 outside, and it's the only real good time where I had a break over the holidays, so I was doing all the insulation and stuff, and I was like freezing cold. And it's just the only time we had, so that one, it's hard to depict how like miserable that is, and if there was one piece of advice I can tell anybody, it's just don't build a house in the winter in Canada. Like time it right so you start in the spring and you're sealed by next winter. Some issues you guys don't have in Florida, but here, yeah.
Was there any inspiration from like a family member? Like, has anybody in your family achieved something like this, like building their own house?
Yeah.
Having that pride, that the thing that you built with your bare hands, and it seems like almost like an old timey, type of
It's such a dad thing.
tale.
I built
Yeah,
that
it's such
house
an
with my
old
bare
school
hands.
thing.
It's funny that you bring it up, actually, because my dad, weirdly enough, when they bought a cottage in the country kind of when I was born, 30 some years ago, and in the early 2000s, when I was still pretty young, my dad just decided to tear it down, and they built like their summer home in the country. And it's just a pretty modest little house, but he decided to kind of do it all himself, and he hired a friend of his to help him with that, who had a bit more construction knowledge. But over 10 years or whatever, like they got the bulk of it done in a year or so, and then we finished up little projects around the cottage for years after that. So just seeing that process had inspired me. I thought that was really cool. Like at the time I couldn't really help, right? I was like 10 years old, so I'd just hang out in the trusses and stuff in my harness and watch the construction go up. So I'm sure that has something to do with it, is just kind of watching that I would spend my entire summers there seeing the place go up, and I thought that was pretty inspiring.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how does go ahead, Kyle?
I was just gonna say, yeah, we kind of experienced that with when I was younger. My dad, he decided to hire our uncle to do our roof on the house, and so I got to go up on the roof, and I was like very young, and not to actually help because I was that young, but I just remember thinking, man, they're like, we're working on our own house, and I just thought that was pretty cool. And then I did construction, and I thought, man, I don't want to do this.
Like it's pretty cool just to see the entire process. Like I've always loved that, and I don't find that stuff like HGTV and all that does a really good job at showing that. But even if you like live near a construction site and you just kind of see it, the progress every day, it's really cool to see it go up. And even for bigger constructions, like houses aside, when you see like a condo building going up and stuff, it's just like a bunch of dudes building like 100 story building. But essentially it's just like 20 guys that are just doing their little job, and they just pack on a bunch of those little jobs, and it ends up being these like massive buildings. But that's always kind of blown my mind.
What was the biggest takeaway? What was the biggest thing you learned after such a huge project like that?
Shit, that's a pretty what's the biggest thing I learned? Well, that I was really passionate about it, I think, is that I've been working in architecture, and I'm still working in architecture, but it's still like, it's a desk job, even though we're kind of in that construction industry.
Mm-hmm.
But just being on site and kind of managing the trades and doing, some of the work myself, I felt like I could really just give my entire kind of heart to it. And, the hours passed, I didn't mind. So I realized, maybe it's like an internal realization, that this is really what I love doing, and I was really passionate about it. So I tried to do another project in the end, like in the YouTube channel, I built another condo for my dad, which is just a little kind of
The
renovation of a
Nightmare
condo. Yeah, the Nightmare condo. That was like another weird project that fell on my lap, and I got a couple more projects in the future, and I'm pretty excited to jump in. So I would say like just the confidence that I got that it could all go well, and that I was really passionate about it, I think is the biggest thing that came out of all this.
So I know that you and your friend Julian were trying to like put together a place, and you were going to probably help out on that project. Were you going to plan on documenting that too?
Yeah, for sure. And I think on that one, I'll try to do the process like from the very beginning. And I think there's a whole lot of like bureaucratic junk that people don't really talk about that's really important. Like how do you plan a house? How do you finance a house? All that stuff. So I'd like to start looking into those at that point. Like as soon as we start the design of that house, I'm going to try to document it, from the architectural process, and then I'll be acting as the kind of general contractor for that project as well. So it's going to be a really like A to Z process. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But for that one, I really would like to maybe hire just maybe an editor, like find somebody online or whatever from a freelancing website, so I can just kind of throw a whole bunch of footage. And like I think a huge part of YouTube success is consistency, and I just haven't been able to do that just with the time involved in actually making the project and then editing and putting together. So I find
I don't think people realize how much work it is involved in that. It's hours and hours and hours for. I mean, it could be like a 4-hour editing process just for a 15-minute video, and there's people out there putting out tons of videos, a couple of weeks sometimes, and some of them still have jobs. So like it's definitely.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Even the sequencing of thing, like I think that was, YouTube videos. It's just telling a story, right? And so trying to get all those like filming in sequence and just the kind of storyboarding or whatever, it's really difficult because I just kind of always film what I'm doing, but at the end of the day, if I can't just all put it together like one after the other and hope that it makes a good story, I found that was one of the biggest struggles with the YouTube thing, is like keeping your audience captivated and trying to tell them a story with some drama involved and all that stuff without just being like, here's what I'm doing for the past couple of days. So
yeah, and definitely
it's tough, man. I don't know.
One of the things that's important with making videos, in my opinion, is not just telling the story, but like how you show the story in your cinematography. And one of the things I love about your videos is that you're not just a regular DIY person, and you're not just like and standing in front of a camera telling people I'm doing this and that, here's how you should do it. But like you have lots of like really cool mood setting in the video, where like you have B-roll footage of like just flowers or some like lights on the like at night in the backyard on the deck or whatever it is, like just little mood setters and establishment shots that I really love, because it's like, yeah, man, like he's still enjoying life. Like this seems like a nightmare project, but he's still taking time. To film those artistic, aspects of like a DIY video. It's like artistic,
And to
Thanks,
have
man.
like the forethought of like the transitions too. Like you've done some of that and grown. I can tell you've grown over some of those videos, and like, even just transitioning into like the intro video after like a brief introduction of what you're going to do. I mean, those little touches, those little things, they all add up to create like a more interesting experience for the viewer, regardless of what type of video it is. And
Sometimes
especially
the
when you're
viewer
trying to
doesn't
make
even know it.
something. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks. I'm curious if anybody, noticed those little things, because you ask yourself the question like, oh, this work, is it actually, do people care about the leaves coming in out of focus?
Is it worth my
people
time to spend
appreciate
the
it.
hour on this part? Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
And honestly, most people probably don't, but they'll notice the times when when it doesn't feel right, or there it isn't there. It's like it's something you don't know that it's not there until you see it, but then you don't notice it because it feels right.
You know it
Oh, thanks,
subconsciously.
man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
What would you say is what's been the most impactful experience like in your career? Because like sometimes building a home is such a special thing to share with somebody, or designing their home. What's something that's been really impactful for you, just to try to extract a little bit of a storytelling element out of our conversation tonight?
I'd say it's, building the home in my career has probably been the biggest impact, because you learn so much. And even, even if I were to never rebuild one again, like I still have learned so much stuff that in architecture is so useful. You don't really think of like, oh well, now I'll think more of the trades, right? So you're thinking less of just the drawing, but more about the how is this actually put together, right? So try to think about kind of efficiency, and I think that's what makes a good architect is when you can think of like these standardized dimensions, standardized lumber. Like anybody can say like, oh, I want a 10-foot ceiling or whatever, but at the end of the day, if you're cutting every stud 2 inches, like is 9'6" or whatever, if you get a standard stud length, is that perfectly fine? And it saves everybody the trouble. So it's think of these little things like that. I find that was really kind of useful to bring back to the office setting and be able to think about things from another perspective, I think. And then generally, aside from the house, I think something that's really rewarding is that often what we do, like if we're doing custom homes, like I happen to do one for myself, but when I'm doing one for another, like with my colleagues and with the office, it's really nice it's usually kind of people that have been thinking of this for their entire lives, right? And they kind of come to our office to design the home of their dreams. Like we do a lot of kind of big, expensive customs. And it's probably people throughout their career that are at a certain point in their life that can now kind of afford to do this house, and to see it's really rewarding to be able to kind of bring that vision to life for people. And just people's reactions generally, like it's a really positive industry, at least the kind of custom home stuff that I often work on. So that's it's really nice to see people kind of react and be able to move into their homes, and it's rewarding, I would say.
I mean, you're creating something that will be around a lot longer than you will, and the families that come in and out of that home. I mean, you're providing something that you can't even fathom. It's just a project for you, but once it's done, there's a lifetime of memories that get built around something that you designed.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's like something so unique too, right? That's what I think differentiates architecture from like contractors, is often like the basic home that's, and I have nothing against that. There's a place for both, but I think in architecture, we're trying to create like spaces that are so unique so that they can bring all these memories to life in these special spaces that aren't quite as generic as a lot of stuff that is just like row housing on the market or whatever.
Like those cookie cutter homes.
Yeah, like exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those, but there's something special about like an architectural designed house. I feel like we can, like, design in general shapes people's lives without them knowing. Like we're talking earlier about these little leaves and shots in the videos that people don't notice, but I think it's the same with architecture, right? It's like the positioning of a window or the width of a hallway or whatever, and those things might make you feel a certain way when you're walking down it, like, oh, I don't feel like I'm walking down a canyon, but you would never like vocalize that and say, oh, there's a good thing I have like a 4.5-foot hallway, or good thing this skylight's at the right spot. But there's like this little intrinsic quality of like, oh, the lighting in this room feels nice, and I feel a little bit better when I come home from work, and I feel like good design will do that without people noticing. And that goes for pretty much any industry, like whether it's fashion or design or architecture, or even like engineering, a good car or whatever. When you sit in it, there's something special about it, even though you don't quite know what that is.
Do you have like a dream project in mind, something you've always wanted to do but haven't had the chance to?
No, not yet. I can't say that I do. I'd like to build more houses for sure, and probably another one for myself at some point. Like this one, it's perfectly fine, but there are some stuff that I kind of learned building it. Like, oh, I don't like this. Or the entrance really small. Or this closet's like, we kind of screwed up a couple things in the planning of it. So I'd love to take like another stab at it of a bigger custom home. And clearly, like I'm a tinkerer, right? So I really like to just build stuff, and whether that's I have a motorcycle that I've like taken apart, or I'm building something in the yard, or I'm doing lawn work, or whatever it is. Like I just like to get my hands dirty doing my own stuff. So I'd love to have like a huge garage, if I can have a bigger property with just all my man cave and tools and whatever I can take apart in there.
So in the music world, we have a saying like, a song is never finished. You just turn it in when it's due. you can sit there and tinker, like you said, and work on it forever. Do you feel that way in your industry? Do you just have a deadline to hit and that's it? Or
Yeah,
is it just,
100%.
or do you feel like it's never finished?
Oh, for sure. Like, I mean, you can take the time and do whatever you want and work on stuff, and it will never be done, like you said. But at some point, we got to turn it in. So we try to come up with a solution. Even though our industry loves to make up these deadlines, and it's not like anybody's going to die if their house is a week, like, you know.
What advice would you have for someone wanting to build their own house in like a time like today?
I'd say just jump in, watch some YouTube videos. Like, I mean, anybody can do it, I think. And I think it's probably like the housing market here is so crazy. I don't know how it's like in Florida, but I find that it's usually more cost effective to build your own house. It's trickier for sure because there's so many hoops to jump through, and it's like bureaucratic nightmare. And there's all these like fees from the city. I think we were in like, you know, cash in lieu of parkland. What does that even mean? It's just like, oh, the city wants 10 grand from you because you're building a house and you need to like donate for the park. So there's all these random little costs associated to it, and figuring out all that stuff is huge pain in the ass. But I think
Sounds
if
like
you're willing to
inspiration.
go through a pain in the if you're willing to go through that pain in the butt, like, you can save yourself a ton of money, right? Because if I were to sell this house, it's worth a lot more than it cost me to build. So I think that's generally the case, and you might end up with a project that's cooler than what you just buy off just the market. So I'd say just go for it. If you're any inclined to do stuff yourself, it's not rocket science.
It's kind of the
So I'm
route we took
curious-
when it came to music.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, and speaking of music, I'm curious, you know, how, you know, while you're whether it's in the planning phases or, you know, you're getting your hands dirty and actually doing some construction work, how does music tie into that for you? Do you have different music for different activities that you're doing, and you know, how does that help or hinder your ability to do those projects?
I'd say generally what I listen to is like podcasts. I listen to a ton of podcasts, so that doesn't really help you on the music front. But I do listen to music, and I find that it helps me pass the time. Like, I need to be listening to something. I just can't be I can't be listening to like ambient sound or whatever. So I really enjoy people talking and podcasts, and that's so generally I listen to like a ton of podcasts or audiobooks or whatever when I'm working. Like, I listen to this. I was telling Kyle a couple of days ago with I listened to a Lord of the Rings audiobook. It's like an audioscape, which was like taking the Lord of the Ring movies or the audio from the movies, and they created like this crazy soundscape around it. Like, when the orcs were walking by, they had like the marching sound, and you know, they were doing voice acting. So it's like reading the book, but with all this crazy audioscape. But
Sounds pretty
to answer your
epic.
oh, it was. It's the best,
having all the orcs just marching and
for sure.
just hammering the nail in at each time they take a step. Like, just picture
Yeah.
that.
No, it was really cool. But just to answer your original question, I don't know how I brought it out to audiobooks, but music definitely plays a role, because I find it keeps my mind busy when I'm doing like building a house specifically. It's so many small repetitive tasks, and that's the stuff we don't show on YouTube videos. But like when you're laying flooring, like, here you go, here's a time lapse of 3 hours laying flooring, but it's just like piece by piece,
Right.
flipping in. So music helps me stay focused, I find, generally just listening to stuff. And I tend to listen to like this super aggressive stuff all the time. Like, I'm not one for like lo-fi. I grew up in like the new metal, Limp Bizkit type stuff, Linkin Park and all that jazz. So that was kind of what I listened to. I listened to a lot of hip hop as well, and I know Kyle was kind of afraid. He asked me before the podcast, like, "Oh, I think we're gonna have to do a rap." I wouldn't ask that of you guys, but
No, I
Yeah,
said we would do a
I'll-
rap song, but you have to rap it.
yeah.
Hey, I'll
No.
cling on to that Lincoln Park bit.
But really, I think
Sounds fun.
there is a one song that I was thinking about earlier, and it's my absolute favorite. That when it always comes on, and it's Guerrilla Radio, Rage Against
Yep,
the Machine.
yep.
Like that intro. I thought if you guys can do something around like that, guerrilla radio kind of intro, and, even the harmonica at some point. Like it's if you guys can pull that off, I'd be really impressed.
Throwing in the harmonica too. Love it.
You don't absolutely need to do that, but
I think I remember the first time I heard that song was probably on a Tony Hawk game.
yeah,
Does
weirdly enough,
anybody remember that?
when I was driving here, I was like, hey, what do I, really, really enjoy listening to? And I was like, oh, it's like that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 like soundtrack. That was just like that whole thing
Superman.
was just gold through and through. Yeah.
That band
sure.
is all vibe too. Tom Morello, like they recorded live in the studio.
Yeah.
I think it was produced by Brendan O'Brien, mixed by Andy Wallace. So like those are some of my favorite producers and mixers. So it's
I love
very,
Rage.
very inspiring sound for sure.
So
And they always had something great to say too. They're very political with their words, but they're very passionate at the same time. And
Yeah.
Tom Morello, he's a guitar player that went to Harvard. Like this
That's
guy's
wild.
extremely intelligent. And then
That's cool.
just
Yeah, for
goes
political
on to-
science, I think he got a degree in political science.
I
from
guess that's
Harvard.
reflected his music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's such a interesting collaboration of people
He's
that came
also-
together to form that music.
He's also
Yeah.
guitarist for Audio Slave, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
signature
so
sound.
that kind of sound I think would make a really cool if you can.
And that'd be
Think that's
a
right.
good flashback for you and I, Carrie, because I think the first time we ever jammed together, you did a Rage song,
Oh yeah, which one?
Killing in the Name of, I think.
"Killing in the Name of."
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
that's a really good one.
I very much enjoyed that. So cool.
That's a good one. Well, yeah, I'm happy with that selection. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. So, like, what
Yeah,
what
Colin
kind of?
Oliver.
I guess now we have to kind of decide on like a narrative, inspiration, storyline. What would you? So here we are writing a song about you now, or writing a song for you. What would you?
Well,
What would you think?
I think a lot of the narrative is just going to be like poetic ways or metaphors to just, of building something. It can be building a life. It can be building a marriage or, raising your children. Like you're constantly building things in life. I think there's a strong connection to everything.
And it's funny you say that because that's kind of why I chose the name Hugo Builds. I thought it was, had so many points. Like it could be like Hugo's Builds. Like and it was generic enough that I can be like building a PC or building my motorcycle or building a fence, and it's all like, stuff that Hugo's building, and it just rolls off the tongue as like Hugo's building. So I feel like it can be used in a variety of different ways. So it's funny that you say that because you're right. It's just building means so much more than construction.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing I wanted to kind of touch on is, so this is also a partnership with your girlfriend that you've kind of, you both are architects, right? And you both work together on this project. So, how is that kind of how you guys met in whether it's going to school or? Yeah,
we actually met in architecture school, and so clearly we have a very similar passion for design. We have super different skill sets, which is like really interesting as well, because hers is she's been like studying design and she's less about the construction aspect of it, and I'm more like on the technical side, even though I still really enjoy the design aspect, and she has way more talent than me in interior design and stuff. So it was a really good kind of marriage of skills to build this house. Like we both worked on the design, and to be honest, it's absolutely frustrating to have like a partner who's also an architect, because you're butting heads constantly, right? And it's not like your colleagues where you're just like nice and respectful. Not that I wasn't respectful, but I mean, it's like all these. Imagine like you and your wives have the exact same career, and you're trying to like make decisions. It's a really tough one to bring together, to mash together. So, but it ended up really cool. So I'm happy working together after the pulled hair, like the Homer Simpson episode. Every house I'm gonna just go more bald.
oh gosh.
Well, that sounds like we've got ourselves a pretty solid foundation upon which to write a song or a story. Do you have any requests for an instrument? What kind of instrument would you like to hear besides the typical one?
He did mention the harmonica.
Harmonica. Yeah.
I find
I think
it
I've
doesn't
got
need to be the
harmonicas.
harmonica, but the part that I like it is there's just like a contrast in the music that's so different from like the rock and roll, and then that comes out and it's like, oh, this is like a special part of the song. So you can pull some. I have no idea how to even describe what that is from my lack of musical knowledge, but
Bagpipes. That's what I'll go with.
yeah, do it.
Rock song with bagpipes.
Yeah, I'm sure it could work.
Yeah.
Like some Dropkick Murphys or something.
Yeah.
Who's the bagpipe guy? Is that Kyle?
That would be me. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Lay off the blow jokes on this respectable family podcast here.
Fair enough. I'll just be fingering the keys. That's all that I'm doing. So it sounds like yeah, so we got ourselves something to kind of work with here. What do you think, Bo?
Cool.
Carrie?
Yeah, I'm excited. You
Got some
know,
ideas
get
going
get
around
get some high energy rage going on.
Yeah, high energy.
Yep.
Something I can listen to while I'm doing construction or
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, maybe something you could use as an intro for your videos from now on.
hey man, that'd be sweet.
Yeah,
Never
It's
even
like
thought
freaking
that, but-
thrash metal freaking intro.
yeah,
Yeah,
something
you have the
that's
intro
custom to you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, man.
Yo.
Well, this
Thanks
was
a lot for
this was
having me.
awesome.
We've got work to do.
We certainly did.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, this was the easy part, just standing in front of the camera, and now you guys do all the hard work.
Yeah.
All righty, well, we'll see you guys for part 2 when we introduce the new song, which we don't know what it is yet.
Cool.
All right, guys.
See ya.
All right.
See ya.
See you soon.
See you guys.
Hugo, welcome back, Hugo. So this was
Thanks for
a
having me back.
yeah, man. We had a lot of fun on this one. You guys want to talk a little bit about how you started the song, Carrie?
Yeah, so in the first conversation we had, one of the biggest things that stuck with me is how he talked about his father built their house when he was young, and it's something he wanted to do for himself as well. And then I ended up looking up and finding this word called Agnation, and basically it's just the passing of a lineage from father to son. It just felt like the perfect title for the song. And then I think that the title kind of came a little bit later, I believe, but most of the lyrics from the verses and the chorus kind of came together pretty quickly. I think that same night I had the lyrics finished.
Anyone that listened to the song that I shared it with was like, "What is Agnation? I've never heard that before." I had to look it up.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was
Every once in a while you'll find those little gems, and it obviously Agnation, it just rhymes with so much, so it was pretty easy to build a chorus from that. It was a great little find for sure.
It's funny, when I first read the lyrics you kind of shared in the group, I didn't imagine that at all until I heard the video, and I was like, oh, I see. You know what I mean? It's like so different to me to read lyrics and then it means nothing to me.
Yeah.
So,
You're not gonna be like, oh, lyrics, perfect. That's a great song. I love it. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's weird to read lyrics outside the context of hearing it in a song, because in the song itself you get to portray emotion and other things that just reading it isn't going to really sell it for you. And then
sure
of course,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, of
Okay,
course,
so-
sonically we had a place to go. We had chosen the Rage Against the Machine style. So that was just something that was constantly in my head, like, trying to have something that's going to be an aggressive rock song, with those lyrics. And, the whole conversation we had was just about you building, and then of course having the father and son relationship. Both of you built your houses, and of course, that's something that you could pass on. And I just felt like that was a really cool part of the song that I feel like was really going to stick with the story element.
Yeah, it worked out. It was super cool.
Yeah, one thing that we've talked about on pretty much every episode now is the intros that we've come up with, and how that kind of like starts starts the song, starts the vibe of the song and the feel, and gets all of us into it. And I feel like we were kind of like on the intro at first, and then Carrie, maybe speak to how you like stumbled across that video that we started off with and kind of get into the jam.
Yeah, it's funny if you ever like listen to certain comedians, they'll always be like, it's so hard to just get started, like with a comedy show. Like they never know what the first thing that comes out of their mouth is just gonna be crap. They just have to get the show started, but that's the hardest part. And it's the same thing for songs too. Like I can write a verse, a chorus, it's easy, but when you got to build it all the way back to a starting point, unless you start with the intro first, if you have a cool guitar riff or piano part already, then it's a little bit easier. But we're going from just a straight up verse to chorus, and then working your way backwards to the intro, something that's going to sell the the buildup of the song, and it became pretty tricky. So we had like this drum march, and just on its own, it was kind of a little bland. But so we added some synth, a little bit of low end to give some texture, and then of course I found this clip from Martin Luther King giving a speech about building a blueprint for your life, setting yourself up for success. And I felt like it had a really cool paralleled message that we were going for this song. And it was a great way to set up the context of the song, because a lot of the metaphors we're using is about pretty much building a house or, a foundation or whatever. So it really sells a cohesion for all those metaphors that we put in the lyrics to begin with.
And one thing I didn't even think about, I was just listening back to the first part of the podcast the other day, and Carrie, I don't know if you like intended this when you were coming up with that March part in the beginning, but Hugo talked about listening to like was it Lord of the Rings, like the orcs marching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a drawback to that. Maybe subconsciously or maybe intentionally, I don't know. But that was really fitting that
Kind of cinematic effects.
Yeah,
implemented some of that.
Let's go with intentionally.
Let's go with
intentionally.
Yeah, that was cool.
I think the Martin Luther King stuff really set up the video really well. I showed it to a couple people, and they all thought it was super cool. Even the video and the song.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun filming
we had an album a while back, and we used like political clips from like Obama and what was the other one, Andy Warhol. It's a cool way to start a song for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then going on the rage theme for the song. First of all, this is probably the video that we spent the most time on, visually speaking, and the techniques that we use and the editing and so on. And I think we all had an awesome time doing that, like spending more time focusing on the video and really like diving into those little nitty gritty details and fun editing tricks that we were kind of, dipping our hands in the jar a little bit deeper this time. And
I think you guys crushed it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
This was a really fun project, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's challenging.
Do you think for future podcasts, you guys spend a bit more time on the video and kind of take longer in between? Like, as an experiment, was this a success?
I think so.
Well, I feel like we're always trying to just build on, we're building these skill sets and trying all these techniques. A lot of us for the first time, green screens and all that. So it's just going to push our filmmaking skills that much further. And then obviously there's a great emphasis on storytelling when you can put yourself anywhere. If I want to sing a song from the rooftop, I can do that as long as I can, sell that. So it's going to be an interesting challenge. And then just even like with the video Agnation, I felt the need to separate the guitar performance from the vocal performance, because I felt it just lent a better performance to the song, trying to get that aggressive look and sound to match, the song that we made, because it's a pretty upbeat song. And we did this cool technique where you slow the song down by, 60%?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a little agonizing because we're playing it really slow. Especially for drums, like sometimes there's a simple beat. It's easier to play drums fast than it is slow because you have to be way more consistent and precise. But we slowed it down 60%. And then once we put it into the editor, we sped it back up so that it was in proper sync with the song and the regular tempo. And then it just gives this like quirky, like Charlie Chaplin,
Highly caffeinated.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, what was it, slapstick? You know,
Yeah.
when they over cranked the camera, because back in the day, the cameras were manually cranked by hand. And if you didn't do the speed right, it could be inconsistent. So for comedies, they would go a little faster and get more motion and more frame rate, basically, because that's what that crank controlled was, the frame
And
rate.
so when you say that
then-
you slowed it down 60%, is that like by ear? You guys like play the song what you think is 60%, or is there like a legit tempo you guys follow?
No, so we played along with the song. So we, in the video, we're just
yeah.
we're just lip syncing or whatever, performing to that slower version of the song. And then
Yeah,
that
I'll
way,
have
when you
to-
speed it up,
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll have to show
and
it to
I-
you one time. I'll have to play it for you. It's agonizing.
Like the
Yeah.
actual slow version
Yeah.
where you.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, dude, just started at 50%. That's what we initially planned on is slowing it down
Half.
to half speed. But it's already a slower song. Like it's not a fast tempo song. So when you slow it down that much, it was just like, okay, I mean, I could play it, but you also want to have that feeling, that vibe to the song, the energy in it. And it's hard to like fake energy when you're going that slow.
Yeah.
So I was like, guys, I gotta bump it up 10%, a little, give me a little bit to work with, and then we can go from there.
But
Now,
the-
a faster song, if we slow that down to 50%, that's definitely doable.
Yeah.
yeah. But the byproduct of when you speed it back up, it portrays a little more energy into that performance too. So
Yeah,
And then we slowed you down
Yeah.
to give a dramatic effect
That's it.
because it's all about you.
yeah, and well, yeah,
tossing, tossing the wood.
Yeah.
well, you can do the reverse. Is you can speed the song up and film it in slow motion, and then slow it down, and you get like that Coldplay thing, where he played it. He sang the song fast and backwards, and so the whole music video is him walking backwards, but he's mouthing the words. Like it's incredible, like effort that went into nailing that. But it's such a cool music video if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but did he like learn the words backwards? That's wild.
Yeah, he learned how to sing it backwards so that his lips matched the lyrics.
But
And
he's
then
walking
as he's
backwards
walking,
in
I think he's
slow
like
motion.
walking through a forest, and he's stepping on all this stuff. But then when you play it backwards, he's walking everything backwards, but his mouth matched the song. It's like
That's
such a
crazy.
cool concept.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't
stacking
know
up
if
all
I
the
could ever
different
commit to
effects.
something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like learning a song in another language.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
yeah, we got to do that and mix it up so all of us are doing like a different direction of the song.
Yeah, that'll take a couple of months.
Oh man.
Kyle's playing from the middle out.
Yeah, bro,
I had
you
to
play
learn the
fast,
song
Kyle
on
plays
bass
slow,
backwards.
I play backwards.
I play the bass
Yeah.
backwards, which is just
Yeah.
the notes backwards. Super easy. But yeah, I really enjoyed this project,
or
and I
just
can't
play
wait
the-
for the next one, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was just asking Carrie who the next guest was going to be.
Oh,
Well,
we've got some in mind.
we'll keep it secret. Yeah, we got a guy coming up, so it's gonna be
All right,
cool.
so
I've been
this
working
was,
on an album.
This was off the record, I guess.
Yeah, we
Well,
got a guy
I really
that-
enjoyed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I got a guy that I've recorded an album with. Bo and Kyle obviously have been a part of it too, lending bass and drums and all that stuff. So hopefully it's going to be completely finished soon, and I'm pretty excited to release that around the same time we do another episode here.
Hey, if any of the next guests have half as good a time that I had, I think it'll be a really successful podcast. I had a blast, and the song turned out really cool. Like I was, we were kind of re-recording this last part, but it was cool that I actually got to see the first half of the podcast and then the video. So, I was really amazed by the quality of the video and the quality of the actual music you guys could put together. Like it's mind-blowing from someone who doesn't come from a music background to like just wrap my mind around how all this is put together. It's really amazing. So.
Yeah, we
And
appreciate
I
your
did
time,
want to
man.
point out we tried so hard to find the right sound to do like harmonica, because you brought that up in the first interview.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know we tried to find a good harmonica sound, but we couldn't sell it to where it was good enough. So, and then Kyle, he sent me a take on, what was it, a theremin?
Oh yeah, theremin.
What did theremin?
I think that.
And
that's what
it's like this weird like spooky instrument.
It's the spooky, ghostly
But
sound.
then I settled.
Yeah, it's like a pirate
Yeah, so
instrument or something. Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's a weird
And then,
radio electronic device. You use your hands.
Oh.
You like shake your hands.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's all wireless. It's like radio control.
And we did add a little bit of a bell. So there's certain parts of the song where there's a bell, and I figured, oh, that's perfect, like doorbell kind of thing. It's all about the house building and everything.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
No, the music turned out. It was like rage spot on. You know, you could, like I've said, and other people that have seen it have said it. Like it could be another rage song if you didn't know. So you guys you nailed it.
Yeah.
We did our job.
yeah, it's all about the core instruments. You know, trying to get the drums, the bass, everything to just have that groove to it. So hopefully we did it justice
But even the vocals.
for true rage fans out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, well, yeah, I think Bo is checked out. So we'll probably go ahead and say thank you for your time, Hugo. Once again, we hope you love the song, and yeah, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. And I might take a little snippet, and you might see that in the future Hugo Builds intro video.
Nice.
Oh,
if that offer's
that'd
still
be
on the
great.
table.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely,
Thanks
man.
a lot for having me, guys.
It's all yours.
Yeah. Thanks, Hugo.
See it.
See you guys.
Have a good night, guys.
This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a sound blueprint.
So I can fabricate. In the box that holds my soul, why don't I recognize this place? So watch me deconstruct it, watch me build it up until the sky's right. It shows I have the taste, it shows that I'll devour, so I get it up in foundation. It's salvation. I put my faith in Agnation. The temptation and frustration. So I'm making my own damnation. You only see the flaws, but I can see the bones. You only see the halls, but I can see the homes. It shows that I have power, it shows that I have taste, it shows that I'll devour, so I get it up in foundation. It's salvation. I put my faith in Agnation. The temptation and frustration. So I'm making my own damnation. Don't forget where you came from. Break from the same herd, away from the wayward. Remember your framework.